with the issue of abortion, do you guys believe that it should be a right for women to have an abortion in America? It should be a right. Which obviously it is, but do you think it should be?
I think as women, y'all should speak on it first, personally.
Yeah, ladies.
Well,
How you feeling?
I personally do believe that it should be choice just because of there's circumstances that happen that it's not saying that it's right, but it is free will, free choice. But depending upon religion, that makes a difference. So it's each one, everybody's has a personal choice, but it's your body. So
do you believe it's murder? Abortion is murder? Because that's a key issue. Because if it is murder, then you have to treat it the same way all other murders are treated. So I guess the question now is, when does life begin? Because if you don't believe it begins in conception, then it's just killing a fetus, right? But the question is, when does life begin? Is it a heartbeat? Is it a brainwave activity? I personally believe it's at conception.
It is.
Right? Because that's kind of it's consistent with all logic.
Right.
But I'm trying to kind of get the public to kind of figure out what they believe, because a lot of people don't know, and because they don't ask themselves those questions.
I believe it begins at conception.
Right.
Because if you think about it, that's when the beginning of life is.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about the development of the fetus and things like that, that's exactly when it begins. It begins at conception.
Right. Exactly. Do you guys have any other differing views on that? If it begins other than conception?
No, I agree with him. I think it begins at conception as well.
Is that the same for all of you guys?
I'll agree. Yeah, I think I agree.
Right. So if then that's the question then. If abortion then is murder because life begins at conception, and then killing that little child is then murder, then how does that all play out in society? And so then should it be wrong, and should it just be a woman's choice because it's their body? Because then if you believe it's conception, then it's not their body, it's a child's body. Now if you didn't believe it began at conception, I can understand that, because then you believe it's a fetus. It's not the same thing.
Right.
But that's where I'm trying to kind of understand, because a lot of people, like, I believe you're like an amazing person, but a lot of people just haven't thought through it. So like, yeah, it's because a lot of the I believe the lies in society is, it's a woman's choice, it's a woman's body, which I don't want to infringe on that at all, but I also believe that it's a conception, and if you do too, then that means that abortion is murder, and it should be treated as such. So
Why do you think that they're not treated the same?
What do you mean?
Meaning that if it's at conception and that is considered murder, why do they not hold that woman accountable the same way that they hold somebody that just
Because most people don't believe it because of conception. Their argument is, it's not a baby until birth, or it's not a baby until heartbeat, or regardless of that. And that's actually one of the things, because then if someone says abortion is wrong, and they say it's a heartbeat is what makes them. So then, and a baby's heartbeat starts being at 17 days.
Right.
So then do you believe it's murder after that? And but the reason why it's legal, and even in New York, they're having third trimester abortions, which is the latest, and you can even have a C-section. And I'm just trying to raise it, and I hate that. I'm a Christian, and I praise the Lord, and I'm just trying to raise awareness against that, in a loving way, because a lot of people I know that are Christians, or they say they are, that just scream and you're going to hell, blah blah blah, and I just want to raise awareness in a loving way. So
do you still feel that way? Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. I just want to make sure your voice is heard.
So do you still feel that way if the mother was to die because there's the pregnancy is in her tubes and not necessarily in the womb, so she's going to die, and if she's not able to have anyone take care of the baby, then what happens?
I saw there's two things I'd say to that. That is extremely rare, and so, which doesn't mean it doesn't matter. But as I try to point people to the majority of abortions, that's why abortion shouldn't be legal. But as far as that goes, personally, as hard as it is, I still believe if it's a murder, it's a murder. And there's as heartbreaking as that is, and as hard as that is, I still believe that is you can't just take out the life of that child. If you don't believe if it's a child, then you can justify that in your head. But I would do anything possible that comes short of murder to save the mom and the child, right? But I just wouldn't kill someone else to save. It's a moral dilemma, but I still believe that you shouldn't do that.
Do you think there rules out free will in Christianity?
In what way? So explain that.
So I see that you're saying that you're a Christian, as we all are.
Yeah.
But in the Bible, it gives us free will and free choice. And so do you think that taking that right away is taking away free will.
No, not at all. So it's like saying, well, I'm going to go. The Lord tells me not to go steal, right? I'm not. So if I go steal, if He tells me not to steal, is that taking away my right free will?
No, it's just establishing
No,
the law.
it's the law. It's the law of the Lord, right? And so. And so that free will, that kind of, that's the woman's choice, I feel is like a lie that's been sown into society that a lot of people believe. But it's the truth. Like, just because the Lord tells me I can't murder doesn't mean He's taking away my free will. It's like, no, He's given us a boundary. And if we choose to step outside the boundary, we won't be blessed by Him anymore, right? We won't be inside of His blessings. We have to be inside of His boundaries for that. Right. So it's not taking away our free will. It's essentially just doing what He says. Yeah. So. But I'm sorry, I don't want to hold you guys up for the movie. But yeah.
Appreciate the opportunity. How can we catch is it like a video?
Yeah, so it's called 128 Think. I haven't actually, I just started. Like, today is my first day hit on the ground.
You're here from Kentucky, or you're?
I'm just right down the road, actually.
I think what you said though about consistency is key.
Yeah.
Though, I feel like I was recalling a criminal case where a mother was pregnant and she was murdered, and they charged him with second-degree murder. So they considered it murder because she was they charged him with two because she was
and
pregnant.
that's one of the main things. Yeah.
But at the same time, like with what they were saying, if a woman is raped and then conceives from that rape, I don't know that it's right to force her to become a mother. Yeah. So I do think it's important to be consistent, but it's such a blurry line.
It's so hard.
And hinges on a lot of circumstantial stuff.
So it's not online yet. It will be in a couple days.
Is it on Instagram or?
I have a personal Instagram, but I'm making a separate Instagram. So if you look up on Instagram just 128 Think, in the next couple days it'll be up there.
Gotcha. So to go off, I'm gonna close.
Yeah.
So
of
to
course,
go off what you said too, like I was thinking about that while we were talking. Like you have like rape.
Yeah.
Cases like that where I don't think a woman, should be penalized if she doesn't want to have that child. Obviously that's a unfortunate circumstance. But I feel like when a lot of women say like it's my body, I can do what I want. I feel like you also know it's also your body when you're having sex with someone and you have a child. A child is conceived because of it. You know what you're getting yourself into when you don't use protection.
Sure, that was your choice to begin
right,
with.
So it was your choice, right? It's always an accident, right?
Right.
But you also could have used protection. Like you knew going into it, this was a possibility. It's not, it's not like all these, gray, blurry lines. Right, with rape is definitely different. But I think if you're laying down with somebody and you're going to have sex, unprotected sex, you know the possibilities to have a child. So,
and I always give there's other options. So first, protection would be the first one. That's your choice, right? And I think we all agree with that. But then as far as rape goes, that's the main issue that a lot of people bring up, and I like to tell them that's less than 1% of all abortions, right? And like I said, I don't want to throw that out, like you said, if the mother was dying at all. But that doesn't even, like most mothers, it was their choice to get pregnant, and so I also would say you'd have to stay consistent. You can go through the birthing process and then go put it up for adoption. There's a bunch of things, but I personally think that in order to be consistent with logic, and more important that because I'm a Christian, but a lot of people aren't, and so if you're not a Christian, then just in order to be consistent with logic, instead of just throwing around and not having any foundation for your truth, then you can't kill that child. Otherwise, it's murder.
This might be a terrible comparison. This might be a terrible comparison, but like as far as like obviously like if a woman is raped, then she maybe she should have the right to not keep the child. But if you really look at it, and again, this may be a terrible comparison, but Mary didn't have a choice either. Yeah, she got pregnant. Obviously, she didn't get raped, but she did have she was pregnant, and she didn't want to be pregnant, but she did have to follow through with what needed to happen. So like, I mean, you can look at it a way where even though this child, in a misfortunate way, this woman was pregnant, but there's still a will for that child's life.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and I think a big thing is that in America, you can technically have the right to then give birth and kill that child. Like you have that right, but is it legal in America? Is then the difference, right? It's not that we're taking away your right to kill your child. Like if you are that horrible and you want to do that after it's born, like we're not taking away that right. Yeah. But the fact that it's legal in our country is what makes it. That's what steps over the line for me. So it's not taking away rights. That's when it's hard, because the left's argument is mainly we want our rights. You do, right? It's taking away abortion is not taking away your rights.
Right. So then I do think if like that consequence comes from abortions, do you think abortions are going to stop?
Say that again.
So if a law is passed that abortion is illegal, and that it will be charged as murder, do you think abortions will stop?
I don't think it's the same thing. So just take regular murder for an example. Murder hasn't stopped, right? But if more murder was legal, how much more would it happen?
Right. Like basically, I think it's in a situation like that, it would be more abortions on the black market, obviously. You know what I mean? It'd be more abortions on the black market, but I mean, I think women will be more careful in like not being in that situation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
They're starting to use abortion as a form of birth control.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the point that was made is it's the difference between that and, let's say, a health concern and she's going to die. Like he said, it's less than 1%. You said less than 1% of the cases.
Yeah.
It's very rare that that's happening. So we got to look at what the majority's doing.
Yeah.
They're using it as a form of birth control instead of putting a condom on there.
Yeah.
They're
Exactly.
aborting babies.
Right.
It takes away responsibility.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Using it as a plan B. I don't get that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you guys for talking with me. No one's talked to me yet. Everyone's like, no, I don't want to talk.
I'm Joe, man.
Bailey.
Good to meet you,
Good to
Bailey.
meet you.
Michael,
Yeah.
man.
Nice to meet you. What movie are we going to?
Kiara.
Nice to meet you, Kiara.
Kiara.
You said 128 Think?
128 Think. It's off Romans 128. They're given over to a depraved mind, and so it's
good.
I'm trying to start this up.
Bless, man.
Yeah.
Sure, I'm gonna
Yeah,
definitely
appreciate
You
it.
said a couple days.
Yeah.
At 128.
So if you follow me on Instagram, I'll
that's
DM
what I'll
you.
do.
I'll DM you whenever it comes up.
What's you on Instagram?
It just
go ahead.
let me just type it in, and then you can just give it to me. This is just my personal one.
Yeah, that's good.
So it's just me.
All right. What's your?
I'll just give it. And then I'll go ahead and accept y'all, and then I'll DM you guys whenever it comes up, so you guys know. That'd be
Cool,
great.
sure. That's the plan.
Appreciate you guys.
Oh, yeah, man.
You have a good day. All right.
You too.
Yeah.